Hi and welcome to another video tutorial. What I'm going to be showing you today is a Python data structure called a set. Now a set is one of many data structures that you can use in Python, and the two key things really to note about a set is that a set cannot contain duplicate values like a list can. And a set also doesn't have any ordering, so you can't just decide to access whatever the first element in is, like you can with a list. So let's see an example then of how a set might work. Okay, so I've written a statement here in the Python shell to define a set. And you'll be wondering why I've done this the way I have now, because I just said that sets cannot contain duplicate values, and that's true, and I want to demonstrate this by pressing enter here and entering that statement, and then I'm going to print out the set that I've just defined. And you can see that it only contains 1 and 2, so when I define that set, even though I said 1, 2, 1 as the elements in the set, it stored that as a set containing the elements 1 and 2, and that's one of the properties of a set, that it can't contain duplicate values. But there is something that's similar to a list. You can test, you can use the len function to find the length of a set. And that's 2. It gives me returns 2 because there are 2 elements in my set. So I want to go through some set methods now, and these are methods that we can use to manipulate sets and create new sets and find out information about particular sets. So I'm going to define 2 new sets here. My sets are going to be x and y. And then the first method I'm going to show you is a method called isSubset. And the way you use this, I'm going to call the isSubset method on x. And what this will do is it will return true if all of the elements in set x are in set y. So it's returned true because all of the elements 1 and 2 in set x are in set y. Another method that we can use is superset. And what isSuperset will do is it will test whether every element in y is in x. So if we run this now, and that's returned false because we've got a element in y here, 3, that is not in x. So we can also create sets from other sets, and one of the methods we can use to do this is union. And what union does, if I call it on the x set, so x.union y, press enter there, it's returned a set which contains each element that is in either x or y. So what x.union y does is returns a set which contains each element that is in x or in y. We can also use x.intersection y, so we can call the intersection method of a set and pass in another set as a parameter. And what this will do is it will return a set which contains all of the elements which are common to both x and y, so which are in both the set x and the set y. So it's returned 1 and 2 because those are the 2 elements that are in both sets. We can also call the difference method on a set, and what that does is it returns a set containing all of the elements which are not in the set that you pass in as a parameter. So if we do that, that will return a set containing just 3 because it's returned every element in y that is not in x. And there is a final method here called Symmetric Difference that I'm going to go through, and if we pass in y as a parameter and we're calling Symmetric Difference on x, this will return a list of this will return a set rather of elements that are either in x or in y but not in both. So that's given us the same result as .difference has, and these 2 methods here are subtly different because this one will return only the a set of only the elements that are in the set that you call the method on, and not in the set that you pass in as a parameter. And this symmetric difference it doesn't matter which set you call it on and which set you pass it as a parameter. It will just return a list of elements that are in one but not the other. Okay, so we can also add and remove elements to sets, to and from sets. So the way we add an element to a set is by saying mySet.add. So we call the add method of a set. I'm going to add the element 3 to my set, which I defined earlier. And if I print my set, you can see that it's now got the element 3 in there. Could also remove an element from a set, so I can do this by saying my set.remove. And I'm going to remove the element 1 from the set. And if I print my set, now we can see that the element 1 has been removed from the set. And this method .remove will throw an error if the element that you've asked it to remove is not in the set. There is another method that you can use, and you can look at through the Python documentation to find this. There is another method that you can use that will only remove the value that you've passed in if it is in the set. But you might think that's the one that you want to use all the time, and you might want to use that one. But the advantage of using .remove is that you can handle the error, so you can write some code to do something if the element that you passed in is not in the set. And we can also remove all of the elements from the set, and you can do this by calling the clear method of a set. And if we print the set now, it will just give us a indication that we've just got an empty set there. Okay, so those are the methods, some of the methods that you can use on a set. There are more methods for working with adding and removing things from sets, but I just had to go through a few of them right now because I don't want to make the tutorial too long. I did also want to go through a example of how we can use a set to solve a programming problem, and this is a nice example because it gives you an idea of how knowing about lots of different data structures can be very advantageous in some cases. So what I want to do here is I want to write a Python function to remove duplicate elements from a list. So I've got some data that's stored in a list, and I want to remove duplicate elements. So I'm going to pass in the list and just call it some list there to the function. And I can do this, because I know about sets, I can do this in one line of code. And because a set cannot contain duplicates, all I need to do is I need to convert my original list to a set, and all of the duplicates will be removed, and then convert that back to a list. And that's all I have to do. So I've taken in a list, I've converted it to a set with this part of the code here, and that will remove all of the duplicate elements from my list. I've then used this function here, list, to convert it back to a list, and then I'm returning whatever this the evaluation of this comes out to be as my return value. So if I run this code now and use it in the shell, what I can do is I can print the return value from that function. I'm going to pass it a list which contains lots of duplicate values, and what this should do is it should return a list containing only 1, 2 and 4. And there we have it. So it's just printed out a list there, which that list was the return value from the remove duplicates function, and that list only has the values 1, 2 and 4 in, because we've used a set to remove the duplicate values in a list. And that's just one way that you could use a set to solve a programming problem, and there are many other applications of sets that Python programmers use. So I hope you found this video tutorial useful. So we've seen how we can use a set data structure in Python. And we've seen an example of how knowing about different data structures can mean that we're able to come up with more, not necessarily more efficient, but more readable solutions to programming problems. Sometimes they may be more efficient, and you can see that this solution is only 2 lines of code in total to define that function. So it's quite a nice solution compared to having to write a for loop or something similar to do the same thing. Okay, so I hope you found this video tutorial useful, and thanks for watching.